false alarm. Hello WordNerds and happy August and Monday. It is August 3rd, 2015, and on today's Ink Slinging I'm going to talk to you about writing journals. Not writing about writing in journals, but your writing, like your manuscript and plotting and characterizations in journals. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I do it. I was going to show you my journals, but then I kind of realized that there are just a lot of spoilers in them, so I'm going to flash you snippets from my Ignite journal that I kept a little bit, but mostly just tell you what's in them and how I kind of do it, maybe give you some ideas. So I have a few different writing journals. This is the one I had for Ignite. It's really tiny and I took it with me everywhere I went, and it's not very full, but it's full enough that I have pages and pages and pages of ideas, and like the first page is the end of the book because that was kind of one of the first things I wanted to nail down was how it would end. But in addition to this book, I also have these notebooks, which are 5 subject notebooks that I got on sale. So each, oh, that got real dark. So each book I plot for has a section in the 5-section notebook or 5 subject notebook so that I can have multiple books in one notebook, because like I said, this was a bit much for Ignite, and it's not that big of a book. Now, my notebooks, by no means are they neat and organized. They are quite messy with things written all over the place. I have a tally about how many people died in a scene so I could keep track of the amount of bodies versus the amount of people who were supposed to be there and be dead. There are lines scribbled in corners and sides, parts highlighted, scratched out, check marks next to scenes that I had finished writing so that I could keep track of what already happened versus what I still wanted to happen. There are a note about 1/3 of the angels fell, so I remembered to keep that consistent. One of the notes in my notebook makes it clear which wing Kala lost because I didn't want to keep bouncing back and forth, and if I ever forgot, I could just look at my little tiny notebook and remember, oh right, that's the wing she lost. Since writing Ignite, my notebooks have gotten much more organized and much bigger, a little bit. This notebook has 2 books in it, mostly Marceline and Lovely Dark and Deep, which, by the way, are the 2 manuscripts that people are voting on for Pick Your Pages. If you want to decide what book I'm writing next, and if you want to read the first chapter of these 2 books, go to my blog, the link will be below. You can vote to see what comes out next because I'm giving you guys my publishing fate. It's in your hand. You guys are holding it. Voting is open until August 28th, which is my birthday, by the way. So my notebook here, like I said, has 2 books in it, and I've come across a more consistent way to keep my notes. The first page I have is the blurb. This one for Mostly Marceline isn't actually the blurb itself, but more of a basic plot idea / tone, and it tells me what the genre is, what obviously tone is that I want for it. I have a little note at the bottom that says the character arc that Marceline will take. For Lovely Dark and Deep, the first page literally is the Lovely Dark and Deep blurb that I wrote and shared on my website, and with like tiny notes about like this needs to change, maybe change this word. But then the most important and also kind of the most fun, a little bit of plotting. Again, these plot notes aren't necessarily like very specific, detailed what's gonna happen, but basic big picture ideas where I outline the overarching plot and theme of my novel, drawn back beats. There are maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 notes on this page, 4 paragraphs of beats. And obviously there's going to be more than 4 chapters, so this is just the big picture. Remember, read this if you want to recall what you want to happen. And then of course, my all-time favorite page, character page, does have some spoilers, but on the character page I list character names. I list, if it's important, the meaning of the character names for Lovely Dark and Deep because the characters have familiars. I name the familiars, what kinds of animals they are, and then I have a line or 2 that describes them in not a necessarily super obvious way. Azel, who is the main character of Lovely Dark and Deep, in my head I see her as a girl with dark hair, dark eyes, very pale, tall, strong, a smile that like would kind of kill you if you look at it too long. But her description, just so I have something to think of when I'm writing her, I wrote, a clear gray winter's day full of danger, the still moment at a grave, collector of stories and harborer of daydreams, intuitive, can sense lies. So those notes have nothing to do with the way she looks, but when I read that line I can immediately picture her character in a different way that is not so obvious. Another note I have for a character whose name is Ember, it's one line. It says, "As dark as night, loud and restless as the wind, flames." And if I think of that, I've got her character. Of course, I flesh her out a little bit more in the story itself, but these are basic beats. A few more pages that I'll share with you from my notebook. I have one page just about scene ideas when I come up with a really interesting scene in my head that I don't want to forget, but it's not ready to be written yet. I just write that down in bullet format. Then I have phrases I like. I have name ideas for other characters who might come important, brainstorming for the kingdom's names, and then a huge page that just is stream of consciousness about how the story could end. I had most of the story plotted out when I came up with the idea, but I did not have any idea how I was going to actually end it. So I have a whole page of me basically talking to myself and talking through different ways it could end and which would be the best way. And then of course, my last few pages are just uses for bone marrow, what one character is doing with the dead bodies, why one character wouldn't kill another character, and how two characters would meet and how their relationship would go. So these again are just plotting bullet point ideas of ways it could work out or might not work out until I find something that hits. Stream of consciousness is really the way I go with my notebooks. The main thing you want to keep in mind if you're going to start your own notebook with plotting ideas and character arcs is that it's allowed to be messy. I'm usually a pretty neat person, big on organization, and when things get messy I get stressed, but my notebooks are the one place that I'm allowed to just let everything pile up and get cluttered. Write in the margins, circle things, scratch things out. Do not rip out pages when they look messy, Erica. I've stopped myself from doing that a few times, but it's actually good to have a mess because you might find an idea that you were going to tear out later when you're looking through it that you could make work. So let your notebook be a mess, allow yourself that time because that's kind of how good ideas are made. In a storm. Make sure to tune in this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're having our chat about post-nano, which we postponed from last week because July was a lot and we're all very tired. But this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure to go over to my blog and check out the two books, mostly Marceline and Lovely Dark and Deep, and vote for which ones you want to see through Pick Your Pages. Right now, one title is in the lead with about 75% of the vote. So make sure you vote and you read the chapters and check out the covers and all that stuff because I'm really excited about it, and voting is open until August 28th when I will announce what's happening and what book comes out first. I love you nerds, and I will see you Sunday.